Okay, folks, ready to take your seats? Moving on to matters arising from the open minutes of this committee held on Monday, the 15th of July. Way back before the recess. Seems a distant memory. So matters arising from 15th of July, Councillor Donnelly.
On the right, bless you. Page, sorry, GSP 135/24. We in the right spot? Yeah, thanks. It's on page 32, 33 on it. Chair, the process that got the having Councillor McGinley and Councillor Duffy, the correcting that was a motion that I brought, and it was but there was a report then done on the motion, and by the time the report came back, it had to be corrected by Councillor McGinley. Put a proposal. I'm just a wee bit concerned, Chair, of how that happened, because when that was debated in this chamber, it was very clear that it was for all committees and full council. In fact, I checked out earlier. I am actually quoted as saying that there's good reasons why making committee and full council papers available to our citizens at the earliest possible time should become the established practice. And there wasn't anybody else who contributed. Nobody was under the impression that it was a planning. In fact, I had mentioned planning. They say that they can do it for planning, and the details of planning recommendations are well in advance, and then through a comparison that's why we need to do it. So I'm just a wee bit concerned how the report got it back at this stage, that it was solely to do with planning. So I just want to put that on record. But Councillor McGinley did propose that it was extended to all, and that was seconded by Councillor Duffy and voted through. Thank you.
Any further matters arising? Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair. Two matters. The first one is 134/24 on page 30, the RSG. Is there any update on that?
So obviously at that committee we approved a very detailed submission into the review. Since that we have met with the organisation that's conducting the review. I think that was a very positive meeting, and they took all our comments on board. Also, and very positively, and it's highlighted in today's financial outturn report, the report that we approved as our council has now been endorsed by the 11 councils and NULGA as a united 11 council position, which is very positive. And obviously that'll lead to engagement now over the coming weeks in terms of ensuring that hopefully some action can come out of that.
Thank you, Alpha. Very much appreciate that, and welcome progress. And of course, what we're waiting on is the action at the tail end of it, given that we are starting the process of next year's rate. So we need to know where we're at. And I suppose similarly, has there been any consideration within our own departments of what might be the outcome of the review of councillors' roles and responsibilities?
That's a completely
there
separate.
Could be a financial outcome on that there, which would add to the rates.
See before I'm going to ask for further clarity on that, but on the previous issue, Councillor Farrell, do you want to come on the previous issue?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I was going to raise it in the outturn paper, but as Alderman Hussey has raised it now, it was a question about the rate support grant. I think everybody's acutely aware of how it's been slashed over the years to a point that there's no real benefit to this city and district. It was 4 million back in 2008. It's like 300 odd grant now. So, ratepayers across the city and district are carrying the can for the failure to protect the rate support grant and adjust it for inflation. We find that totally unacceptable. I note in the paper that there has been engagement with the chief executive and the lead finance officer, and our question is there scope or is there opportunity for the consultants to meet us as a committee or in a private meeting, or was that the extent of the engagement? Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, just through you, Chair. In the meeting that the lead finance officer and myself had with the consultants, we conveyed the desire of this council that they would come and meet with elected members. They said they would note that and consider it, and I assume we will hear from them in due course with regard to that.
Here.
Is there anything else on the rate support grant? Okay, Alderman Hussey, well, is your second item in relation to the roles and responsibilities of councillors? Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. All right, glasses. 143, notification to member meetings of external bodies. And note, if any issues arose, a report will be brought to committee. Given that there's no report brought, can I assume that there are no issues that have arisen with outside bodies and notification to members of meetings, etc.?
Through you, Chair. Not that I'm aware of at the moment, but because we've just come through the summer recess, we didn't probably expect a number of responses, so we'll follow that one up again. Thank you.
That's appreciated, Chair. And I suppose on the same issue of external bodies, I was in attendance at the NEC executive meeting yesterday, and a matter was raised by the Secretary, Councillor Joe Boyle, with regard to notification going out from NEC about various meetings, conferences, etc. And I'm aware, for example, the NEC AGM will be the 20th of this month. And I note later on, we in our business, we have an issue of a conference, but this one isn't there. Both myself and Councillor Eugene McConnell had concerns about attendance at these particular events. And I'm just wondering, what is the scenario with information coming from outside bodies like NAC or NILGA or whoever of events that are taking place that may be of interest to members in this chamber? Thank you.
Through you, Chair, thank you for those comments. I am assuming that all the external bodies, the NAC included, write directly to the elected members who are part of that membership, but the NAC, so certainly to my knowledge, hasn't advised us of that conference. Had they done so, we would bring through a report as normal to make an approved duty. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. As well, just to emphasise that the AGM is on the 20th in Cookstown, and I know that NAC are hoping for a good turnout at that meeting. Thank you.
Just to say in respect of that, I mean, if there are a number of members who are who have been nominated onto the NAC committee by this council, there shouldn't be an issue with attendance at events such as that if the expenditure is reasonable and proportionate. So if something needs to be dealt with urgently in between committees, please send me the details and we can consider it and advise accordingly.
Any other matters of any matters arising coming from the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of July? No. I'm going to move on to item 9, which is the Q1 financial outturn report. And it's Alfie that's going to take us through that.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the report is for you to consider and approve our 3-month financial outturn and position at 30th of June. Just very quickly, by way of background, you'll see the report sets out our 77.69 million budget for the year and how that's split across the various departments, and also how it's funded. And you'll see the main source of funding in that is obviously rates income. And it's important, members, that you're obviously provided with regular scrutiny and financial updates in respect of this, particularly if there's any significant financial issues arising. So members, a detailed report is attached in the appendix and summarised in the table in section 3.1 of the report, and you'll note that the outturn position reported is 527k ahead of target at month 3, and as pointed out in the report, members, it's obviously a very early assessment at this point in the financial year, but nonetheless a positive one. So just running through the key issues contributing to that. Firstly, our services are 586k ahead of budget. The very significant issue within that is that our income levels continue to be ahead of budget, particularly within leisure. Also, at the Tower Museum, Derry Girls Exhibition, Guildhall and Building Control. We have had savings in electricity, oil and gas budgets in Q1, although I would point out that remains a risk for the remainder of the year. And obviously, members, we've been trying to save money where possible across all our council services. In terms of other costs, they're 153k ahead of budget. That's because our interest is ahead of budget due to the current high interest rates on funds and long-term deposit. Thirdly, members, the rates income is reported within the report as neutral, although I would point out that the initial LPS forecast is that that will be ahead of budget by 432k. The reason that I've reported as neutral at this point, members, is there are a couple of key risks within that against non-domestic revaluation challenges and bad debt write-off, given the age profile of some of the debt, and that's set out in detail within the report, and that's a risk that we've obviously covered as well within our financial contingency reserve, given the values involved. The fourth issue, members, we have touched on already, rate support grant. We assumed a significant cut for the year. Most of that cut materialised, but we are ahead of budget by a very small amount. And finally, members, the remaining issue is that reserves have been reported to be 225k behind budget. You know that we fund 900k of our budget for this year from reserves. The reserves reduction strategy that we have in place would mean a 0.46% rates impact in this upcoming rates process, and that's obviously something that we're keen to avoid. So therefore, I have made an interim provision within Q1 to try and offset some of that burden as part of the rates process, and we can obviously consider that in further detail in the Q2 and 3 outturn reports, and also in the upcoming rates process. So members, the position reported 527k ahead of budget at the end of Q1, which includes 225k an interim provision towards our reserves reduction strategy. Also noted in the report, members, we do still have our financial contingency reserve. You'll recall that's 5.034 million, and that's set aside for a number of risks and uncertainties. The key ones, members, are obviously the pay award has not yet been agreed at this stage in the financial year. I've highlighted the risk around rates appeals and bad debt, and we still remain in an uncertain environment around costs, but that is a figure we'll obviously need to review over the coming months and whether we need it at that level. And it'll be, so it's good to begin under the rates process with that, but it's something that we need to consider what the level that reserve remains at going forward. So members, early in the year, as I've mentioned, but it is a positive position, and the recommendation is that you approve the Q1 financial outturn position and the associated considerations in the report. Thank you.
Okay, members, there's the information that's provided, some of the information that was provided in the report was provided at July's committee so I know in terms of the positives that's contained and highlighted in the report aren't going to be news to members of the committee, but we still need a proposer. There's a recommendation in front of us, and we still need a proposer to approve. So is there any comments or questions in relation to It's in front of us. Councillor Farrell, are you happy to propose?
I was just happy to propose it on behalf of the SDLP.
Councillor-
It's great news that we're in such a healthy position at this time of the year, and we hope it continues. Thank you.
Okay. And Alderman Hustley, second. Everybody content? Okay, so that's approved. Now, this is a much anticipated report. We've spoke about it numerous times, but it's in relation to the remote meetings and the change in or adoption of a policy and our own policy in relation to how to facilitate remote meetings. And I'm going to pass over to Philip. I know there has been formatting issues in relation to the packs. Those that had access to the packs, that didn't make it really clear in relation to the changes in standing orders. But hopefully by the end of Philip's presentation, there'll be no clarity needed, and everybody will be crystal clear in what we're being asked to vote on, or decide on. So I'm going to pass over to the capable hands of our city solicitor.
Yep, thank you, Chair. So members, I'll not rehash old ground. Safe to say, as you know, the regulations are now in place which allows councils to hold remote or hybrid meetings. As we indicated previously, there has not been unanimity amongst the 11 councils as to the approach which is to be taken in relation to this, with some councils having all meetings remotely, some requiring full council meetings to be 100% attendance in person, and some requiring some committees, such as the planning committee, to be 100% attendance in person. It's entirely a matter for members to make that decision, and the options, or some of the options, are set out in the report. For example, to make provision for all meetings to be held in a hybrid or remote fashion, to make provision for committee meetings to be held remotely but not council meetings, or to make provision for remote meetings except in respect of certain committees, e.g. the planning committee, to be held remotely, or any combination of those. Members, there is a requirement within the legislation that there be an amendment to standing orders in order to permit hybrid meetings, and therefore if members are minded to have hybrid meetings, it would be proposed that there be an amendment made to standing orders. Now, as the Chair intimated, there have been a couple of formatting issues there, and in my copy of the pack, certainly the coloration has not pulled through. So members, at page 76 of your pack, which would be standing order 2.1, it would be proposed that it would be we would include the words where the notice and summons stipulates that a meeting of the council or any committee or subcommittee of council shall take place remotely or in a hybrid manner. Then Appendix 1 of the standing orders shall apply to that meeting, and Appendix 1, members, is the protocol for the remote meetings protocol, which was in place during the COVID period and under the previous legislation, subject only to minor changes in that protocol to reflect the fact that it's new legislation which has replaced the coronavirus legislation. So members, over to you to let us know what you want to do in relation to hybrid meetings.
Thank you, Philip. Councillor McGinley.
Thank you, Philip. From our perspective, we would be proposing that we move to allow all council business to be conducted in a hybrid fashion. I think it allows participation from everybody, and it makes local democracy more accessible for those with care and responsibilities and other responsibilities. So I would make a proposal that we would move to have all council business to be permitted in a hybrid fashion.
Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Tierney. Councillor Tierney.
Thank you, Chair. As you say, we're all waiting this paper coming. And up until this week, I thought the hybrid option was a good idea until I've had problems with my iPad. And now I'm starting to question whether it's a good idea or not. And I say that in jest, but I agree with Councillor McGinley. It worked well, I believe, for us as a council throughout the COVID period. But even up until the COVID restrictions were being suspended, it allowed people with caring responsibilities an opportunity to, if required, join online. And I think that made it a lot more accessible for people. It's my own personal view, where you can, you should attend the chamber, but I don't have the same responsibilities as everyone else. So I think trying to make it more open and more accessible for members is the way that we should be looking at it. So we would support allowing the hybrid business to be the way forward. Thank you.
Alderman Cook.
Thanks, Chair, and I would be in agreement with the previous two speakers as well. Do allow full access for all council business, so just wanted to put that on record on behalf of the DP. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Hussey.
Similar to others, whilst I have a very strong preference for being in meetings in person, as members know, I enjoy the eyeball to eyeball. But understand that there is a need on occasion that members can have their say, etc., via the hybrid methodology. So, on behalf of the Ulster Unionist Party, we have no problem supporting the motion.
The risk of getting ahead of myself. Are we all in agreement? It's unanimous. So proposal from Councillor McGinley, seconded by Councillor Tierney to move all council business the hybrid format. Very good. So that's unanimous. Moving on now to the conference that Alderman Hussey referred to earlier. Helen, will you take us?
Yeah, through you, Chair, and very briefly, this report seeks approval for member attendance at the Recovery in Motion conference, which takes place on the 10th of September in the Millennium Forum. The theme is outlined in the report is addiction recovery, and it focuses on the need for concerted effort from all stakeholders to tackling substance abuse. As I say, in terms of the recommendations, the recommendation is to approve attendance, but given the short notice of this particular conference and subject to members' views, if you're happy that we will recommend any recommendations prior to ratification before council. Thank you.
Okay, people content with the recommendations as attached to the report? Yep. I need a proposer. Councillor Mooney, Councillor McGinley, and that's unanimous, so that's approved. Items number 12 to 14 are open for information, and I'm going to take them as read. Is there, and given an opportunity now, if anybody wants to raise any questions as part of those papers? Alderman Hussey?
13. Just the forward schedule. I think today emphasizes again the concern I have, deputations coming in front of committees, etc. And I still have that preference that we should have a special meeting when a couple of delegations can be brought in and they can be given time for all members to consider their submission to council. But that's just a personal point of view that I wanted recorded. Thank you, Chair.
And the points made. I know isn't it, but I know today's meeting was exceptional given that there was two deputations. But the points made. Okay, anybody else wants to come on items 12 to 14? Can I have a proposer to go into confidential? Councillor Mooney, Councillor Boggs. So